She said it so casually, like it meant nothing. You can leave any time. But her hand never moved. It stayed on mine. Light at first, then certain, like she was testing how far she could go without either of us breaking the silence. The room was too quiet for it to mean nothing. The clock on her kitchen wall hummed softly. A mug of tea sat between us, untouched long enough to lose its warmth. She leaned against the counter, that faint trace of perfume that wasn't sweet or heavy, just her, settling in the air. I remember thinking that even her stillness had a kind of gravity. She was older, yes. You could see it in the small things, the way she didn't rush to fill the silence, the calm precision in how she moved. But there was also something behind her eyes that felt raw, unfinished. I was just supposed to drop something off. That's all. She'd laughed earlier that week when I offered to help her fix the shelf, saying, "You make it sound like I can't handle a few screws." But she let me come anyway. Now, I wasn't fixing anything. I was standing there, not sure if I should breathe. "You're quiet," she said, not looking up. "I don't want to say the wrong thing." She smiled a little. Not at me exactly, but at the floor between us. "That's a dangerous kind of silence." Her thumb brushed over the back of my hand again, almost absent-minded, except it wasn't. I could feel her pulse, steady but quick, and I wondered if she knew I noticed. When she finally looked up, I forgot what I was supposed to say. Her eyes had that tired sort of warmth, the kind that hides 100 little regrets but still reaches for something alive. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said softly. "I didn't mean to. I know." She exhaled, almost a laugh, but not quite. "That's what makes it worse." There was a pause, the kind that stretches too long and feels like a decision being made. I thought about stepping back, about saying good night, about pretending I didn't understand what this was turning into. But I didn't move. She tilted her head slightly, studying me, like she was waiting for me to flinch. I didn't. And then her hand slipped from mine just enough to trace the inside of my wrist. Not a caress, more like curiosity or maybe disbelief. Like she couldn't quite believe she'd let herself do it. Her voice was quieter now. "You really can go if you want." I wanted to say something clever, something that would make sense of the moment, but nothing came. Just the hum of the refrigerator, the faint scent of jasmine tea, the way her hand trembled once before finding mine again. The distance between us felt like a held breath. She was close enough that I could see the faint lines near her mouth, the kind you get from years of smiling and pretending it doesn't hurt. "You shouldn't stay," she murmured. "I know." She nodded, her eyes fixed on our hands, still joined, her thumb now pressed against my pulse. The sound of rain started against the window, soft but insistent. For a second, it felt like the world outside had blurred out completely. No past, no future, just that fragile impossible now. Then a knock hit the door, sharp, unexpected. She froze. Her hand finally let go. And for the first time that night, the silence between us felt unbearable. The knock on the door had broken something. Not just the silence, but the thin thread that held us in that strange, weightless moment. It turned out to be her neighbor, asking if she'd seen his cat. She answered like nothing had happened, calm and polite, one hand still tucked behind her back as if hiding the proof. I stood there, pretending to check my phone, pretending I wasn't shaking. When the door closed again, she sighed, and for a second I saw it, the exhaustion behind her composure. "Sorry," she said quietly. "He's old, gets lonely." I could say the same, I joked. She didn't laugh, just turned, arms folded, looking at me like she was trying to decide if she should let that moment count as truth. Later, she poured us more tea. The steam curled between us like hesitation made visible. "You know," she said, "I used to tell myself I was fine being alone, that it was easier." "Easier than what?" "Than hoping," she said. Then, after a pause, "Than starting something that can't last." I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't need to. The space between her words told me she'd already tried. Maybe once, maybe too many times. I wanted to tell her I wasn't looking for forever. I just wanted now. But even thinking it felt too loud, too young. She watched me over the rim of her cup. You're still figuring things out, she said. You shouldn't get caught up in someone like me. Someone like you? Someone who knows better. The air went still again. Her eyes flicked toward my hands, then away. She brushed a strand of hair from her face. A nervous, unguarded move that didn't fit the confident woman she tried to be. I don't think knowing better always helps, I said. She smiled, just barely.
No.
It usually makes it worse. We ended up sitting on the couch. A little too close, but not enough to touch. Her shoulder brushed mine once, maybe twice, each time followed by a breath that seemed longer than the last. She asked about school, work, the things people ask to make distance sound polite. I answered, but my attention drifted. To her wrist, where her bracelet had left a faint mark. To the way her fingers traced the rim of her cup. Slow, deliberate. There was a pause. Then she said, "You keep looking at me like you're trying to remember something. Maybe I am." What? What it feels like to be around someone who doesn't make me want to leave. She didn't look away this time. Her eyes softened, but her voice didn't. You shouldn't say things like that. I can't help it. Her breath caught, I heard it. Then she reached for my hand, hesitated halfway, and let it drop onto her knee instead. Fingers curling slightly like she'd almost let herself. That tiny distance. Her hand inches from mine, trembling, undecided. Felt louder than anything either of us had said. And when she finally whispered, "You should probably go," I didn't move. Not until she did. Her fingers brushed mine. A single, quiet touch. And this time, neither of us pretended it was an accident. The next time I saw her, it wasn't planned. I'd stopped by the cafe near campus to grab coffee before class. And she was there, standing at the counter, scrolling her phone like she didn't notice the way every head turned just slightly when she walked in. Our eyes met before I could look away. Hers widened, only for a second, then softened into something unreadable. "Hi," I said too quickly. "Hi," she echoed, quieter. "Didn't expect to see you here." Neither of us moved. The barista called her name, and she turned to grab her cup, but her hand brushed mine in passing. Just a touch. Just enough to feel it again. That sharp, unreasonable spark that shouldn't exist in daylight. We ended up sitting outside together. It wasn't a plan. Just something that happened because neither of us knew how to walk away first. She asked about my classes, my plans for the weekend, meaningless things that filled the space between everything we weren't saying. Then her phone buzzed. A name flashed across the screen, Mark. She flipped it face down fast. "Someone important?" I asked. Her voice didn't quite match her calm expression.
No.
Just someone who thinks he still is. A long pause. The kind that means there's a story you shouldn't ask about. "He was?" She nodded. "Was." Then softer. "Still thinks he isn't." The air felt thicker after that. I noticed how she sat. Upright, but her shoulders slightly drawn in, as if holding herself together. I wanted to reach out, to rest my hand on hers like before, but I didn't. The space between us felt like a line she was daring me not to cross. "You shouldn't keep showing up," she said suddenly. "I didn't plan to." "That's worse," she murmured. The wind picked up, brushing her hair across her face. She tucked it behind her ear. A small, habitual motion, and my eyes followed her hand before I could stop myself. She saw it. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't what?" "Look at me like that here." "Then where?" She didn't answer, just stared at her coffee, then at me. Her foot brushed mine under the table, maybe by mistake, maybe not. The moment stretched. Too long. Too quiet. Then the sound of her phone again. This time louder. She ignored it. "You should get that," I said. "I shouldn't," she replied. Our knees touched now. Neither of us pulled away. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. "People will talk. People always talk." Her eyes flicked to the window, where our reflections sat side by side, too close for casual. "You don't know what it's like," she said. "For me?" "No," I said. "But I could." She looked at me then, really looked, and for a second I thought she might let it happen. The space between us narrowed until I could feel her breath, warm and uneven. Then the cafe door opened behind us. Someone called her name. Elena. She jerked back. It was a friend, waving, smiling, walking over. She composed herself instantly, mask in place, voice steady. Hey, it's been forever. The friend sat down, talking fast, oblivious. But under the table, her knee stayed against mine, pressed, unmoving. And when her friend turned to grab her drink, Elena's hand found mine for half a heartbeat. Hidden, dangerous, certain. Neither of us smiled. She didn't come to the cafe again. For almost a week, nothing. No text, no call. I tried to convince myself it didn't matter. But every time I passed that place, I slowed down. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her. Even when I knew it wouldn't be. Then one evening, she called. Her voice was calm at first. I shouldn't ask you to come over. But you're going to? A pause. Yes. When I got there, she was barefoot, standing by the window in an oversized sweater. One hand wrapped around a glass of wine she wasn't drinking. The lights were dim, rain tapping against the glass. That quiet kind of storm that makes everything sound closer than it is. You look tired, I said. She gave a small, humorless laugh. That's one way to say I've been thinking too much. About what? You, she said, before she could stop herself. Then, quickly, about this. Whatever this is. I took a step closer. You could have said that sooner. I tried, she said. Every time I told myself I wouldn't call, I almost did. Every time I thought of what people would say. Her words trailed off. I could see her breathing quicken, small, shallow breaths that didn't match the steady calm she tried to project. You're scared, I said quietly. Her eyes flicked up, sharp. And you're not. I'm young, I said. Not stupid. That made her smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. I closed the distance between us. Slowly. Her fingers tightened around her glass, then relaxed. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. I know. She looked at me, really looked, and I could feel it, that pull neither of us had the strength to deny anymore. Her hand moved before she thought, brushing my sleeve, tracing the edge of my wrist. You make it too easy to forget everything else. Maybe you want to forget, I said. Her laugh broke halfway through, unsteady. You don't understand what I'd be risking. Then tell me, I said. Make me understand. She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped forward. Close enough that her sweater brushed against my shirt. Close enough for me to smell the faint scent of her hair, that mix of soap and rain. You have no idea what you're doing to me, she whispered. My heart hammered in my throat. I lifted a hand, hesitated, then tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Her eyes fluttered shut, and she leaned in just slightly, as if gravity had made the choice for her. Her breath touched my neck when she spoke. If you touch me again, I won't stop it this time. I didn't move. Neither did she. The world outside blurred into rain and thunder and the sound of two people holding their breath for the same reason. Her fingers caught mine. Not holding, trembling, indecisive. Say something, she murmured. I can't, I said. Not without meaning it. She looked up, eyes wide, glassy, afraid and wanting. Then the sound broke, her phone, ringing again. Mark. She froze. The name lit the room brighter than lightning. The spell snapped, but she didn't move away. She just whispered, voice shaking, Please, don't go yet. She didn't answer the call, just stared at the name glowing on the screen until it stopped ringing. When it finally went silent, she set the phone down carefully on the counter. Too carefully, like someone disarming a live wire. Is that him? I asked. She didn't look at me. It's nothing. You sure? Her voice cracked just slightly. No, I waited. Rain pressed against the windows harder now, filling the space between us with that heavy kind of noise that makes every pause sound intentional. She finally said, He came by earlier today, said he still had a key, that he wanted to talk. I stepped closer. And did you? Her laugh came out brittle. He talked. I listened. I didn't tell him about you. The words landed harder than I expected. You didn't? How could I? she cut in, turning toward me, her eyes sharp now. What would I even say? That I'm seeing someone half my age? That I don't even know what we are? Her voice shook. I'm not hiding you, she said, softer. I'm protecting you. I didn't know whether to believe her or to admit how much I wanted to. She took a step back, running a hand through her hair. The sleeve of her sweater slid down, revealing the inside of her wrist, the faint bruise of a hand that might not have belonged to me. My stomach twisted. Did he? She cut me off fast. No. Don't. But her eyes gave her away. I reached for her hand, but she pulled it back. It's over, she said. It's been over for a long time. Then why is he still here? Her silence answered for her. She turned away, breathing unsteady. Because I never told him to stop trying. Maybe I thought I'd end up alone. Maybe I thought that was safer. And now, she looked over her shoulder. Tired, beautiful, completely unsure. Now you're standing in my kitchen, and I can't even think straight. I closed the distance between us. My hand brushed her arm, slow, careful, testing the edge between comfort and want. You don't have to protect me, I said. I'm not afraid. You should be, she whispered. If he finds out, then he'll know what he already suspects. Her breath caught. And what's that? That you're not his anymore. She flinched at that. A quiet, involuntary sound, half hurt, half relief. I thought she'd pull away again, but instead she stepped closer, until her chest brushed mine. I could feel her heartbeat. Uneven, fast, defiant. This can't end well, she said. I don't care. Her hands found my shirt, fingers trembling, then flattened against my chest like she wanted to push me away and couldn't. I told him, she said finally. Told him what? Her voice broke. That there's someone else. I blinked. When? An hour before I called you. The air changed sharp, electric. So why call me? I asked. She looked up, eyes wet but steady. Because I wanted to see if I still meant it. The words hit hard. Neither of us spoke after that. We stood there, inches apart, breathing the same uneven air. Guilt, fear, and something neither of us could name. Then she whispered, almost trembling, if you don't walk out that door now, you won't be able to. I didn't move. Neither did she. The rain hadn't stopped. It hammered the glass like it wanted to drown the world outside her walls. She stood by the window again, arms wrapped around herself, the same sweater hanging off one shoulder. I could see the curve of her collarbone, the tremor in her breath. You shouldn't have come, she said. You called me, I reminded her. I didn't think you'd actually show up. Well, I said, stepping closer. I didn't think you'd open the door. She laughed once, low, nervous, then fell silent. The space between us was small now. The air felt charged, heavy with everything unsaid. I could feel her pulse from a distance, like the whole room beat in sync with it. You're too young to carry this, she whispered, to want something that's already breaking. And you're too smart to pretend you don't want it too. Her lips parted like she might argue, but she didn't. Instead, she looked down at my hand, open, waiting, and for a second I saw the war in her eyes. Fear, longing, the ache of someone who's forgotten how to be wanted without consequence. She stepped closer until our foreheads almost touched. This isn't fair, she said. I know. It's not supposed to be like this. Then how is it supposed to be? Her answer came out as barely a whisper. Easier. I reached up and brushed my thumb along her jaw, the faintest touch, just enough to feel her skin warm beneath it. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Her eyes fluttered shut. Say something, I whispered. She shook her head. If I say it, it becomes real. Maybe that's what it needs to be. Her hand found my chest, fingers trembling against my heartbeat. She stayed there, not pushing me away, not pulling me closer, just holding the proof that I was real and that we'd gone too far to pretend otherwise. Do you regret it? I asked. Her eyes met mine, soft, raw, honest. Not yet. That was all it took. I leaned in, slow enough to stop, fast enough that I didn't want to. Our noses brushed. Her breath hitched. Then she moved first. Not a kiss. Not yet. Just the weight of her forehead against mine. Her hand gripping my shirt like she needed it to keep from falling apart. I can't promise you anything, she whispered. I'm not asking you to. You'll hate me when this ends. Maybe, I said. But not tonight. Her fingers slid from my chest to my neck, resting there, light as air. I felt her pulse match mine. The rain outside softened, fading into a rhythm that felt almost like permission. She tilted her head slightly, breath catching against my lips. And then she stopped, looked at me, really looked, and whispered, "Now you know." And I did. Everything we were afraid of. Everything we couldn't undo. Everything we both wanted anyway. Morning came too early. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving the streets outside washed clean, quiet, still half dreaming. She stood by the stove, hair tied back loosely, stirring coffee with the kind of care people use when they're afraid of what happens after it's done. The sweater from last night hung off one shoulder again. Softer now, lived in. "Sleep okay?" she asked, voice rough from silence. "Barely." She smiled a little without turning. Me too. The tension from the night before hadn't vanished. It had just changed shape. It wasn't sharp anymore. It felt slower, deeper, like an ache that had found a rhythm it could live with. When she turned around, mug in hand, I noticed the faint shadow of fatigue under her eyes, but also something else. Peace, maybe, or acceptance. "I thought I'd wake up and regret it," she said. "I didn't." "Good," I said, and meant it. She set my cup down, sitting across from me. "I kept waiting for this to feel wrong. But it doesn't." "Because it's not," I said. Her eyes lifted, steady and tired and beautiful. "You really believe that?" "Yeah," I said. "I think sometimes people just find each other at the wrong time, and if they're lucky, the time catches up." She laughed softly. "That's a dangerous kind of hope." "Then maybe it's the right kind." The silence that followed wasn't the same kind we used to have. Not the heavy, uncertain one. This one felt lighter. It breathed with us. She reached across the table, her hand hovering for a moment before resting on mine. No hesitation this time. Her thumb brushed the side of my hand, slow and sure. "You know this isn't simple." "I know. People will talk. Then let them." She studied me, really studied me, the way she had that first night, except this time she didn't look away. "You make me feel seen," she said quietly. "Not young again, not saved. Just here." I didn't answer. I just stood, moved to her side, and wrapped my arms around her. She melted into it like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Her hands pressed against my back, her cheek against my chest. "You shouldn't have made it this easy to love you," she whispered. "I didn't mean to." "I know," she said, smiling against me. "That's what makes it worse." We stayed like that, standing in a kitchen that smelled like coffee and rain, the world outside starting again, quietly, without asking us to explain anything. For once, there was nothing to fix, no one to answer to, just warmth. She looked up, eyes soft. "You can leave any time," she said again, the same words from the first night. But her hand was still on mine. And this time, neither of us even tried to let go. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?